My name is Leilani Thatcher, a tour guide at the Library of Lost Things. This is The Doorstep Project, episode 46, The Sun Will Shine Again. Two things were left behind after the destruction of Kowloon Walled City. The first was the South Gate, or rather the ruins of the South Gate. The second was a government official's office. In 1841, the Chinese government signed the island of Hong Kong off to Great Britain, just south of the Kowloon Peninsula. In 1843, China began to build a walled fort with an office for a government official and barracks for 150 soldiers stationed there. It was called the Kowloon Walled City and was built to remind the British that the Chinese military was still active in the area. In the 1860s, after the Second Opium War, China and Britain signed another treaty, this one ceding the Kowloon Peninsula to the British, with an exception of the walled city. The British authorities tried many times to negotiate control of the city. In 1896, China granted Britain 99 years of control over Hong Kong, Kowloon, and territories in Canton, but the walled city was still held firmly by China. In 1899, the British sent forces to check on the military fort, only to find a single government official who left soon after, and the British took control of the city with very little pushback from China. They began to build churches and schools in the area, and farmers from surrounding land began to move in. Because it was still Chinese soil, the British placed no administrative measures within the walls, and it quickly became a slum. There was a brief time during World War II when Japan occupied the Kowloon Peninsula. While there, the walls of the city were torn down to build a runway. After the war, refugees from China filled the Kowloon Peninsula, and over 2,000 of them made camp in what was once the walled city. Now open to the elements, the residents of this plot of land still acted as if the walls were in place, building within the 6.5-acre plot in case the Hong Kong government retaliated. And they tried. In 1948, Hong Kong police raided the city, removing the refugees and destroying the shacks they had built. It was all in vain. Within a week, the residents had returned, rebuilding their homes from the rubble. The news reached mainland China. The people were enraged of the mistreatment of the residents of what was still considered Chinese land. Officials from the government traveled to the walled city, encouraging the refugees to continue the fight against the police and British forces. Hong Kong's government relented, and the police left the area, leaving the people to their camp. Now free of supervision, the people began to build. When I say the words urban maze, many thoughts may come to mind. Perhaps you think of a hedge maze with one entrance and one exit, one answer. Maybe you think of a house with lots of hidden hallways and nooks. I think the most accurate depiction of what I would call an urban maze in the media comes from dystopian books and movies. In a lot of these stories, especially robot apocalypse stories, you see the main character traversing the city using roofs, underground tunnels, secret doors between buildings, or even just jumping from one window to the next. Its houses built so close together that they can hide hundreds of people, in alleyways so cramped no light comes through. You find stores in the middle of a row of houses, doctors advertising on the 20th floor of an old office building, warehouses repurposed into kitchens and meeting halls. It's mysterious and interesting. You watch the main character, who knows these city streets so well, run from room to room, alley to alley, roof to roof, climbing ladders up rickety buildings. They avoid gang fights, dodging criminals who face no charges because there are no police. Children playing games in the street, watching for bikes instead of cars. Street vendors trying to sell anything, everything because they can. There's no tax, no regulation of business or medical services. This might seem exciting to us, perhaps even preferable to some. This was the reality of the people of Kowloon City, and the city flourished. Organized crime was rampant here, making Kowloon a large exporter of narcotics, but the city also exported plastics, textile, and food. Production of these goods were not regulated, so you can imagine that working conditions were often horrible, but the income often outweighed the cost of health and life for the people. Dumplings and fish balls that were served in the greater Hong Kong area often originated from the hive that was Kowloon. Hive is a very fitting description of the city, I think. Because the boundaries of the city were constrained to the original walls of the fort, the people had to be creative. Instead of building out, they built up. They poured concrete foundations on top of concrete roofs, bricks on shale, wood on steel. There weren't building permits or paperwork. If you needed a house or a building, they built it, often on top of or in between already existing buildings. Natural light was a luxury, often only found on roofs or from the windows facing the outside world. The ground hardly ever saw the sun. At its peak, it's estimated that the 6.5-acre plot of land held more than 33,000 residents. In 1963, Hong Kong authorities issued a demolition order for Kowloon. The people, who had begun to build a self-governing system, rebelled and formed an anti-demolition committee. In 1984, a declaration was signed by the Chinese Foreign Ministry and Great Britain, ensuring the return of Hong Kong to China in 1997. A piece of this agreement included the demolition of Kowloon walled city. January 14, 1987. The Hong Kong Housing Department enters the walled city and counts the people, offering compensation for residents who choose to leave. On average, a resident would receive $380,000 for an individual home or apartment. By November of 1991, there were little less than 500 residents still in the city. On July 2, 1992, riot police entered the city and forcibly removed anyone refusing to leave. They fenced off Kowloon walled city and, on March 23, 1993, began the demolition. The city is now a beautiful park, but the memory of the city is not erased. Two things were left behind after the destruction of Kowloon walled city. The first was the South Gate, or rather, the ruins of the South Gate. The second was a government official's office, the original office built inside the walls for a Chinese official to watch over the land. Kowloon walled city was not a perfect place. It was called the City of Darkness, not just because of the lack of light. It wasn't necessarily a safe place for anyone, and while some people found a good life in the city, many others were not so fortunate. The Kowloon walled city park is not a perfect place. The Kowloon Peninsula is not a perfect place. Nothing about Kowloon is a utopia, a paradise. It's a place. It's people. It's neighbors and community. It's the businesses and schools and churches, just like any other city, any other country. Now that city is gone. The people have moved on. The concrete and bricks and steel, they're all gone. And the sun will shine again on the ruins of the South Gate. Thank you for listening to The Doorstep Project. This audio drama was created and produced by Family Friendly Podcasts. If you enjoyed the podcast, leave a rating and review on your podcast app of choice or share it with a friend. Leilani and the project will be back next week. Until then, write every day. One day, your story could be in a museum. Encouraging the refugees to continue fight. Ba ba ba. Officials from the government traveled. The Doorstep Project is produced by Family Friendly Podcasts. It was written, edited, and performed by AJ Barton. Sound effects for this podcast are provided by Zapsplat. Music used in this podcast includes Reawakening by Kevin McLeod, licensed under the Creative Commons Attribution 4.0 license. You can learn more at his website, incompetech.com, or at creativecommons.org. Both music and sound effects have been changed and edited by AJ Barton. Links for websites, information, and contact can be found in the description of the episode. Would you like to submit your story or art to the Doorstep Project? You can find information for story submission at familyfriendlypodcast.com/The Doorstep Project. Information on CC by 4.0 licenses can be found at creativecommons.org.